An American president will never give you a shout out in a UN speech, especially if you are an African president, unless they want something from you. And this is something that a lot of people have been saying, and of course we already saw they already delivered the first thing that they wanted, which was sending our troops to Haiti, like our policemen.
Red card, 2 red cards to 2 boulets out there. Barbara Lee, she's a congresswoman, California, and Gwen Moore, Wisconsin. She's the Democrat congresswoman there. Those two, you know how they always say, like, when people are at the top, there are those who forget, like, where they came from, especially, like, in terms of the history of the, let's just talk about the slavery and the neocolonialism and what's happening there. Why were these two, there was 8 of them, but these 2 specific ones, and the reason I'm calling them out is because they're black.
Okay.
Why were they there? They couldn't have said no. I don't have a beef, I have beef with the 6 other ones who are white men.
Yeah.
But these 2 specific black women, those are boulets, bootlickers, for those who don't know what I'm saying.
I was about to say, who are boulets?
America's complicity in Kenya's situation has been quite glaringly open, from the state visit. Kuna issues kama Haiti, there's IMF being mentioned. There are those congressmen and women who they decided to visit Parliament during a debate of this contentious bill. Of course, they're on a trip to Kenya, and maybe it was a coincidence, but we still don't have that report. Of course, the video is out there. We posted it for people to see. So, as people who are out here in the US, what can we do to highlight America's complicity?
Before I even answer that question, I want to give a red card, 2 red cards to 2 boulets out there. Barbara Lee, she's a congresswoman, California, and Gwen Moore, Wisconsin. She's the Democrat congresswoman there. Those 2, you know how they always say, like, when people are at the top, there are those who forget, like, where they came from, especially, like, in terms of the history of the, let's just talk about the slavery and the neocolonialism and what's happening there. Why were these 2, there was 8 of them, but these 2 specific ones, and the reason I'm calling them out is because they're black.
Okay.
Why were they there? They couldn't have said no. I don't have a beef, I have beef with the 6 other ones who are white men.
Yeah.
But these 2 specific black women, those are boulets, bootlickers, for those who don't know what I'm saying.
I was about to say, who are boulets?
Boulets are bootlickers. Kwanza.
I thought that was somebody from Rift Valley.
No.
Oh, you're thinking Kool-Aid. You're thinking Kool-Aid. Yeah?
Cholet.
Or Cholet. Boss. Anyway.
I'm a Ghost Muley.
Muley is not from.
It's the name.
Yeah, it's the name. It's the name.
So obviously, Ruto is in the pockets of the Biden administration. When he came, mpaka alipewa nini, aliambiwa kae chini kwa kiti ya president.
Yes.
Like, that was a very big statement that was being passed.
And that was a very horrible symbol. I don't think Ruto realized it.
Yes.
But that was a very horrible symbol.
He was actually getting mocked, Yeah. Walikuwa na mgasap. So
that, like the state visit. And now the people who, like the OneMicShow, we've been accused so many times of being biased. But I am glad what happened, because we've been vindicated. Like we've had meetings of where, like we're asking ourselves, should we now start playing devil's advocate and seeing the other side of the story? But one thing I like about our format is that none of us are trained journalists. Whatever we know, we've learned online, and we have one of our super producers, Mubelo Bandio, who's an actual journalist. So he certainly sometimes keeps a discipline. But what I like about the independence we have is, I don't like this thing in journalism where they say that there's always two sides to a story. That is a lie. There are some stories that have only one side. And I'm sorry, this is one of them. Msema ukweli, I'm sorry, you're wrong on this one. There's certain stories. Another example of a story where there's only one side is like what's happening against the Palestinians. But there's only one side. There's no two sides.
The Zionist side.
Yeah, this thing of let's listen to the other guys and let's listen to their point of view. No, these guys are killing these other people, and it's live. These murders are being broadcast.
And nobody has ever listened to
TikTok.
the Palestinians for over 75 years.
Yes, and so that's why I'm saying, I like this independence. So as far as the complicity of Americans, there's the International Monetary Fund. There's these projections of soft power, like this state visit. Remember, the state visit is America's highest expression of soft power, and they only do this when they want something from you. They will never give you a shout out, an American president will never give you a shout out in a UN speech, especially if you are an African president, unless they want something from you. And this is something that a lot of people have been saying, and of course we already saw they already delivered the first thing that they wanted, which was sending our troops to Haiti, like our policemen.
Our police officers.
Yeah, our police officers. The designation of the non-NATO ally was officialized just a day before those troops were sent. And this was no coincidence. This was no coincidence at all. So there are so many other things that America wants from Kenya. And I think they like working with William Ruto because they know he's vulnerable, they know he's naive, and they know, he has certain things that he wants that they can give him. And believe it or not, the United States right now is fully vested on having a second-term presidency of William Ruto. If you don't believe me, just ask anyone who understands geopolitics. America always accuses China and Russia of meddling in elections, but America is the biggest meddler of foreign elections in the world. And they will try to meddle in Kenya's elections. Now, when you go back to when William Ruto won the elections in 2022, or allegedly, when it was still being contested. Remember, that was the time when Meg Whitman, let's call her Meg Jerotich Whitman, had just been sent to become the ambassador of Kenya. So Meg Whitman, she was one of the first people while the election was still being contested. She was one of the first people who said that this was a credible election. And to me, red flags all over the place. And with what we've seen, along the line, we've been vindicated. The special envoy for Haiti, I think his name is Dan Foote, admitted that the idea of sending Kenyan troops or rather Kenyan police to Haiti was Meg Whitman's idea. Ambassador Meg Whitman, that's another person that we are issuing a red card. Meg Whitman must go. That's someone who has to go, because she's partly responsible for enabling all these shenanigans that William Ruto is doing, and we need to do something about it. Remember when when Ruto was coming here for the state visit, why was the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi inviting people? Why is the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi involved in a state visit of a Kenyan president? Then they're supposed to be working in Nairobi, not inviting, though it's sending personal invites to people over here. So they're very, very involved. It's kind of like Meg Whitman has become Kenya's Ruto's minister for foreign affairs. So we have to be very careful about what's happening. And of course, those Congress members also need to tell us what this is about. Now, coming to Roba and Kelvin, But before that, I think Val has a quick point she wants to make. Then I'm going to come to you, Roba.
Kwanza, US needs to be focusing on the visa corruption thing that is going back, happening at home. That's what Meg Whitman needs to do. And then another thing, this thing is bigger than you think. I was just wondering, could there be a correlation between Russia and World War III and them moving their ships, building a base, and then the Kenyan police going to Haiti? I wonder if there is a relation there, if something is connected, maybe.
There's something cooking.
There's something cooking.
There's something
so it's
cooking.
something definitely
Yeah.
cooking.
There's something
Oh,
cooking.
no.
From unofficial sources, and I repeat, this is from unofficial sources, and of course we've already seen, with this designation of Kenya as a non-NATO ally, they want Kenya to be trying, those Houthi rebels who are caught in the high seas. Eventually their plan, I strongly believe, is to have the Kenya Navy go out there, fight on behalf of the US.
Yeah,
and let me tell
actually,
you this,
Ali,
they will get cooked by the Houthi rebels. Mika.
their plan is actually just Manda Bay. They want a bay. They don't have a bay in Africa. They want Manda Bay because if you've ever looked at the geography of the world, Kenya is situated in the center of the world. The other base that they have in that region, close by, is in Bahrain. And so for them, they feel that Bahrain handles much of the Gulf. And if they can get one in Kenya, that easily also sort of kind of dilutes the presence of China and Russia in Africa. These are all geopolitical wars that they're fighting right now. Right? There's a lot of Russian presence in Northwest Africa. There's a lot of Chinese presence in South Africa, Angola, and that area region. So for them, it's more of like they've never really set up a serious base where they can just say that we have an American base. And Manda Bay has always been something that not even Trump was trying to get into a trade deal to get Manda Bay. Like all American presidents have just been crying for Manda Bay and asking for Manda Bay. And I guess there is actually a report that came out that the IMF told Kenya there's going to be pushback against the finance bill, but they assessed it to be a mid-tier pushback. And then it will go back to being okay. So there is a meddling hands, and that is why, for me, I keep on insisting and telling people we can call those 8 congressmen who are there, but if we call the people who represent us here locally and complain about it and talk about it and make noise about it and make it known in Congress that this is an issue among the Kenyan voters here who reside here, and it's an issue for congressmen who are here, there's gonna be a much serious impact on that, because once you affect their local politics over here and they start talking, then the government will have to be put in check. Why are you doing this? So we have to make that noise, but let's not lie to ourselves. There is a lot of meddling in this thing. The thing is, Ruto is being told, we are going to finance you and give you these things, but you have to show us how you're paying them. And he says, I'm going to increase taxes. There's so much potential for me to tax in the country. And then they look at it and tell them, okay, go tax your people, and then we're going to we'll negotiate with you. So, no, we're not going to let them allow Ruto to do what he wants to do so that they can get what they want from Ruto. We have to fight them. As the Kenyans are fighting there, we also have to fight here for the Kenyans back home.
Okay, sawa sawa, asante sana Mika. Want to come back to studio and as we're getting close to wrap up, because man, there's so many angles to attack this. There's so little time. Roba, there was the issue, the initial silence of the church, but I mean, of course, the church has now clearly come out, because they have been a big part of this protest. I think on last Sunday was a day when they were talking about Occupy churches. So talk to people, like about the church, especially for people like us who are not Christians. Like what issues do Gen Zs have with the church? And here I'm talking about, of course, the church in Kenya and also the churches out here in the diaspora, because out here in the diaspora we have a lot of Kenyan churches.
Yeah. So I think one of the issues, I think the church is complicit in what's happening, because they're also pretty much detached from the youth, and they're mostly affiliated with a lot of these politicians, kama kina Sudi, because they give 2 million or 20 million, I don't know, every Sunday. So to them, they know money is coming inwards to them, and I think they don't pay taxes, of course, right? So they don't really have a big impact on their side. So instead of doing the right thing that the Bible preaches, that they preach themselves, that they know the people are stealing, and they're stealing our the Kenyans' taxes, and they're giving it to them. And now SRB hapo kama hiyo, the famous videos of akina Sudi, that they're just counting millions and millions of shillings that they're giving to churches and harambes. Instead of doing the right thing, they're here supporting where the money is. And that's the fortunate thing about, I think, like us human beings in general, the greed sometimes becomes too much, that you turn a blind eye. You turn a blind eye to corruption. You turn a blind eye to killings or death and destruction, like what's happening in Palestine. It's just like the greed is too much, and that's what is making the church complicit in all of this. And the only way, and the funny thing is, the thing they don't understand is Gen Z is not really part of the church these days. So hiyo pesa yenye wanapeana hapo, yenye wanafurahisha pastor and baby boomers and Gen X, they don't know it's not affecting. They don't know that I affect Gen Zs at all. Like, they don't care about the politicians who are giving out a lot of money there. They don't love them the same way the pastors and the generation of the pastors do. So that will be another big issue for them to tackle, because they can't simply fix it by just going and giving out a bunch of money like they've been doing. They'll have a big issue to tackle with the Gen Z, and the next 3 years will be a headache for the current regime. And then also, I think, to touch on Meg Whitman, I think I remember when I saw she was appointed to Kenya, and I looked through her resume, and I was trying to figure out why would she want to go to be an ambassador in Kenya, because she has gone to Princeton, she did an MBA in Harvard, she has been the CEO of eBay, she's been the CEO of HP, Hewlett Packard, and I was going through her resume, and I was just wondering, like, she's worth $3 billion. So I'm saying, out of all the, see at Kenya ni Chimbaya, but out of all the ambassadors who have been there in Kenya, why would a 67-year-old woman who's worth $3 billion, who has been the CEO of Fortune 500 companies, want to go and be an ambassador back home? Akutaka France or something, somewhere else, where, because she's 67. I'm sure she won't want to go and stay in Kenya for a couple of years. I was just assuming the best, that she loves Kenya and she wants to help us, but I know there's a lot of geopolitical and neocolonial puppeteering going on. And I think, like Ali said, I think the next wars in the world will be through proxy wars. So it's not going to be at US na Russia wanatupiana mabombs. They'll use other countries, the smaller countries kama Kenya, since now we are a non-NATO ally. And I think one of my Kale brothers alikuwa na ringa hiyo like it's an accomplishment by Ruto. Ati now au kuona amefanya tukue na NATO ally. Nikasema, unajisikia, do you think that's going to help us? Do you think we want to be a NATO ally in Africa? And honestly, I mean, we live in this country. It's a great country, but they have their own motives, and they love to work in the shadows. And another thing is, they're always very tactical in how they approach things. And I honestly think their number one then the number one case that they go for, the number one people they're fighting for, is themselves in Europe, and how to extract the raw materials we have in Africa at the lowest possible cost. I think I was reading the other day that Congo has I think 2 trillion worth of resources that haven't been discovered. The lithium and I think the cobalt that we use on our devices and any other resources that they have in Congo is still in there, that it's worth 2 trillion, that we can that can build the whole of Africa overnight if we actually extract it the way the UAE and the Saudis have done. But it's easier for them to just keep it cheap, keep us divided, keep us in civil wars, or just get an incompetent puppet that can just do their dirty work for them. And I think that's what's happening back home. And they have found this system where Ruto used with using the churches and making sure the churches are quiet. Because, I mean, Kenya is is mostly a Christian nation. So if the big churches and the big bishops stand and say, vijana mwachane na maandamano, it's not right to. I don't condone any violence, but instead of listening to our pains and criticizing the government in any way, wanasema tu poleni, but musiende don't go to the streets, like achana na maandamano, because they know on Sunday a big lump of cash is coming there, which is a big lump of cash is coming their way, which is the citizens' taxes. So it's a whole big mess that it will take a while to tackle, and I know we have already been here for a couple of hours. It's so many issues going back home. So
I was gonna say
now,
those proxy wars are like how
now
how
you know,
the Northlands were invaded. But
yeah,
carry on.
and you know, when you talk of proxy wars and you talk about that being the future, it's actually the present. Do you know where proxy war is being fought right now? Sudan.
Sudan, yes.
Sudan is a
Sudan
total proxy war.
Very
Russia is
interesting.
there, America is there,
but they're
you know,
using
like
Korea.
they're using other people, and now there's proxies of proxies. So it's not even America giving them weapons directly. It's Jui Mara ni UAE, Mara sijui ni Saudi Arabia. It's a very complex web. But in this Gen Z world, there are people out there on YouTube who are breaking down everything. There are no secrets anymore. In fact, that's the reason why even America, these little games they play, you know, like in using someone else, there are people who are breaking this thing down frame by frame on everything that's happening, be it, you know, like the weapons that are being used to kill Palestinians, you know, like what Americans did in Sudan, you know, like and the fact that Russians wanted to build a base there, but Americans don't want them to have that base. You know, it's a total mess. So that's something that we have to be prepared for, and we have to be very careful about. So when you're here singing that, oh, we've been made NATO allies, you are gonna be on the crosshairs of powers like Russia, and those guys can turn us into dust if we're not careful.
And the
within
only
a
thing
very
the
short
US will
time.
say is, I'm sorry, we'll send some aid.
Yeah, that's what they'll say.
that's
We'll
what
send
we'll
some
get.
aid.
And the
We'll get
good
some aid.
and the good Bible says that. Let me quote President's good book. My people are dying because of lack of knowledge. We don't have knowledge.
Yes.
Amen.
Carry on.
Now, Kevo,
Yes.
your issue at church.
Mr. Sanzu.
Yes, Mr. Sanzu,
KK.
the intellect hapa today. Your issue at church. Your issue at church iko ni church ya Kenya peke yake ama imefika pia hapa diaspora? Imefika church ya diaspora.
Venye mi huona, I feel like the church has actually been church and religion has been misused for a very long time, especially when it comes to politics.
My friend.
And
Ukweli kabisa.
looking back, I mean, and we were warned. If you look at Karl Marx, for example, he says religion is like opium to the poor. So to the masses, rather. I mean, to the masses of the poor. But you realize that people come in and sell you some sort of false hope, and you know the most vulnerable people are people who are trying to survive. Like we see in William Ruto, mtu alikuwa anaenda church analia anasema hata kama hatuna baba wetu ni God the Father ako juu mbinguni. But then people wanasema ati nchi haitajengwa na watu ambao wanaishi kwa magorofa Nairobi, ni mtu anavaa slippers. Now you ask yourself, Mr. William Ruto, when did you wear slippers last? So religion has hugely been misused ever. I mean, for a long time, and that is my take. And just to have my last sentiments, because I guess we're
about to wrap up, and we're gonna give you a chance to get your last sentiments. Let me read a few comments before Mike wraps it up for us, and then we'll see where we go. Now, Ashake says in response to Msema Ukweli, never say never. Who would have thought Kenya would have a movement of this magnitude? The same IMF, World Bank, and US government propping up Ruto might decide he's a liability and drop him. We are not buying anyone selling fear. And then Dorothy Oma says he was bought. Stephen JJ anasema this topic hits home sana. I have been very vocal about this, Leo. We deserve good governance, the leadership. Those positions are not just designated. They are earned through merit, hard work, dedication, and resilience. Big up. Let's keep up the hard work and better our future. Dorothy Oma says Ruto is Biden's foot soldier. Brian Nyamu anasema red card. I think this is a red card to Meg Whitman when we're issuing a red card to
Brian ameingia na red card too.
Yeah, and by the way, Brian Nyamu is a very good photographer. He took some of the best pictures during the protest. So Brian Nyamu, we hope you're gonna come with that big camera. Unajua zile hapana, wachana na hizi kamera hizi pinhole camera hizi za Fizo. This camera had a long, it's one of those kama zile za National Geographic.
Sio Samsung.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, sio iPhone. Wacha hizo hapo. And then let me see, Steven JJ anasema who bombed the Russian pipeline to Europe. And then Steven Jejena with Trump in anaacha question mark hapo. And then on YouTube huko pia YouTube watu walikuwa wamechacha.
Imechacha
Yeah, YouTube Baldhead anasema the complicity is blatant. Read in the Nation they expected opposition from opposition but not this much from Gen Z. But they're relentlessly behind Zakayo implementing his oppressive tax bill. Aziz Ali anasema the American empire will always for its black or white. Look at how they can't I think pass a law stopping lawmakers from insider trading. Do you know
how much the fine is?
Do you know how much the fine is? It's $500 at the punishment. Yes, you're insider trading, very dangerous. It happened a lot before, especially before COVID. You had congressmen, like dumping certain stocks and buying others. And then Aziz Ali says Meg Whitman ran away from Kenya the first week of the demos. Alikwenda. And then Rasvik, who appointed her? Of course, it's Joe Biden who appointed her. And then Aziz Ali anasema being a NATO ally paints a target.
Tell your friend that.
Yeah, so tell your friend who was celebrating. Yeah.
Nilimwambia sijui katasikia.
Yeah, mwambie tu until the Russians decide that they want to send walikuwa naitwaje ile group ya walikuwa naitwa
Prozognen.
Lakini
the Wagner group.
Yeah, Wagner.
Prozognen, whatever his name was.
Yeah, wakianza kutumwa watu wa Mount Kenya wataweza kupronounce hiyo name kimakura. Yeah.
Plogozene. Unasikia?
Acha kutuonea.
And then Brian Nyama anasema we did our protest on Sunday. It was nice. We have another one this coming Sunday, Brian Nyamu. Please come back. Those pictures that you took, my goodness, they were so iconic. Zilikuwa zinafanya kina Robapa na kina Kelvin wakaya kama Steve Biko na Julius Malema. So please come and take those pictures. Come and take those pictures. Mike, wahenga wanasemaje?
Wahenga walinena kilicho na mwanzo hakina budi kuwa na mwisho. Meli imetia nanga. We are about to wrap this puppy up. Mikoch ama Nyomosh?
Omosh I think alilala.
Alilala?
Yeah, I think he went to sleep. So Mikaoch huyo hapo, he has a number of violations the last couple of weeks, but wacha tumsamehe leo we are on a serious mission.
Yes,
but in
I would have called you guys names, but we have visitors.
Okay, sawa. Okay, Omosh sawa. We are just making sure you are awake.
Omosh basi sema kwa heri. Kelvin and Co. Asanteni. You guys have done something and have awakened I think the inner fight we've always had in us, and maybe it has been sleeping, it's been dormant, but tuko pamoja. So thank you for doing that for us, for the country, and for the future of our country, our kids, and for those who lost their lives as part of this fight. Asanteni sana. Back to you, studio.
All right, asante sana Omosh. Mika.
I just want to say thank you to Kevin, Roba, and Val. It's nice that you took the initiative and you stood up by your fellow young ones. I also want to thank everybody else who's pushing on this fight. This is a fight that is not going to end pretty soon, but it's something that we need to continue doing. Like if we want to rectify the mistakes that we made, especially people who are my generation and above, if we want to rectify our mistakes, we need to support this generation that is fighting right now in any ways we have. We can see that the LSK goes out to get people when they're arrested. They have a pay bill number. You can support them financially. They need those resources. KPMDU also have a pay bill number. They need those resources when it comes to getting bandages and antibiotics and painkillers and everything they need to treat people during to hold those medical camps during the protest. You guys, hata watu wa rege wako ifikiria kwa na medical camp na walikuwa na pesa. Like, you see the difference between people who, when they are fighting for a cause, and when people are fighting for their own reasons. Anyway, there is a pay bill number by Hani Falsafa, one of the organizers back on the ground. That pay bill number, what it does is that it pays the medical bills for those who are hurt in the hospital. It also helps by donating money to the families who lose their members, so they can be able to reduce some of the burial costs. So these are some of the ways in which you can continue supporting and doing. If you cannot, kama unaogopa kutype Ruto must go na umechoka na yeye, tuma pesa, saidiane huko chini.
Yes.
Utakuwa umefanya a bit of activism.
Okay.
Like, that is what we want you to do. If you can come out in the streets, ukuja na CCDC, kuja uinue, hata kama utavaa balaclava ujifiche, utaki wa kuone, kuja. Right? Kama wewe ugopi, unaweza ongea mbele ya TV, utoe maoni yako, your words can go far. You can inspire people, you can touch somebody, you can say something, or your message. Unaona, kama si tukiongea tulikuwa tunaongea tu. Val, si ndio hiyo alifanya Kimani Machungu akamjibu. Like, she started a conversation, right? And that was highlighted, na hiyo clause ikatolewa. So something you talk, you say can be heard and goes a long way. Kama unaweza kuja kuongea. But all in all, it's a weekend. It's hot. I know people outside. Remember, Nuba is cheaper than a DUI. Take care of yourself. God bless you. Bye.
All right, asante sana Mika. You know, like very powerful words coming from Mika. Na Maslay Queens walikuwa na comment kwa ile post ya Mika pale Citizen. But anyway, yeah. Kevo, give us your last sentiments.
So what we want to say to the people who are holding the public offices right now, especially in the high offices, you might loot today, but then they need to know that things have changed. Your audit tumeimba hapa, the next governments will do that. And now this government has been telling us, we came here, the coffers were empty, but they are not telling us who looted the treasury. So what we are telling them, you can loot, but in the next government things will be different. So as they loot and go to bed, let them know that you'd rather live a normal life than enjoy the lavish life and then rot in prison in your old age. And my last sentiments, the worst thing that ever happened on earth has been the bombing of the nuclear in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And after the bombing, the people who were involved, and Einstein was one of them, and what they said was, what have we done? Now I'm telling the president, Mr. William Ruto, we want you to go and watch that video in Parliament. Look at the youth marching forward, even when they are seeing death, but they are not scared, they are marching. And I want the president to go and meditate and ask yourself, what have you done? Wow. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, that was so powerful. Yani mpaka niko speechless. Roba, your last sentiments.
Yeah, I'll start by saying same thing that my comrade here, Kevin, was saying. To Zakayo, we want you to at least start holding people accountable. I mean, tunataka ushuke, but in the next few weeks while you're still in the office, somebody said it in a good way. Let me try and remember. We just want you to be a caretaker of the government mpaka ushuke. So whether it's the next few months, ama the next 3 years mpaka 2027, just be a caretaker and an accountability. First of all, the massacre in Githurai and Rongai, we need answers on what happened there. We need to know how many people have actually been killed and the death count there. It's still surprising me. It's been days and
It's not 6 though.
yeah, it's not 6. And we don't want you to go on and address the nation and start talking about price ya unga. Ati sijui price ya unga imeshuka, sijui nini. And then saying ati nimetuma vijana kukataa na Saudi Arabia. We don't want to hear that and people are dying.
Tumetenga.
It's unacceptable. And to the people here in the Kenyans in America, or the Kenyans Americans, you, like Mika was saying, your voice matters. So please, this Sunday, those of you who are in the DMV, or in at least 2 hours, 3 hours from the DMV, if you can make it and you have time, please come out to the embassy. Let's support our Kenyans brothers and sisters back home. It's the least we can do, like I said. Your voice matters. Please, just try and make a step and a step to, make a difference for the Kenyans back home and for our future also. Because one day, I mean, we all want to go to Kenya. We don't want to die old in a foreign land. So, and to the Kenyan youth back home, there's this whole, there's this whole rhetoric of not having a leader, and I understand that. But at the same time, you need to make sure your goals are aligned. So whether it's the next protests that are being planned, you need to figure out and agree on what you're going to do. But because I think the issue yesterday was some people walikuwa nasema occupy State House, wengine wana conflict, wanasema State House is a shoot on site area, they will shoot you and you will die, so tusiende State House tuende CBD. And that ultimately divided the protests for yesterday, and it wasn't as powerful as Tuesday. I siko kwa grao, siwezi ambia watu pale ya kuenda, but I'm just telling you, the spaces in Twitter is a good place of convening and discussing. I think yesterday got to 130,000 people in the spaces on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So please convene, discuss there. You don't need a leader. You can discuss and figure out what you're doing next for your movement. And also you need to figure out the next goal, because Ruto atasumbua atatoka kiraisi. So whether it's reconstituting IEBC and recalling all the MPs mpaka parliament mkuwe na majority mtoe Ruto, if you're going that way, ama mnaongeza pressure kwa streets mpaka Ruto wenyewe aseme ECA rizani nayo na ashuke. Either way, you need to come together, re-strategize, and come with the ideas of ideas of what's next or the next steps to the movement currently. But we are in full support of you, and I think that it was a quote by Wolfgang. He said, a revolution is never the fault of the people, but that of the government. So please, you've been pushed to the corner, and you're doing what's right for yourself and for your future and for your children and for your grandchildren. So keep going. We are supporting you 100%. We will do what we can on this side, and please keep fighting on your end. When we lose our fear, they lose their power. Just remember that.
Wow.
Remember that.
Man, when they lose
when we lose our fear, they lose their power.
When we lose our power.
No, when we lose our fear.
Inakuanga tricky.
Okay, I was just making sure all of you are But anyway, let's go to Val.
So
Give us,
before I close, someone asked, what do the Americans want? Did you guys hear that story of they found minerals in our national parks?
Yes,
Okay. Anyway, you mwende mo find out about it.
That is not a good thing.
It is not a good thing. But this is what I'm telling the president. The Gen Zs have non-negotiable demands. Acha historia multi-structural, multi-agencies, just using words, maneno matamu, maneno makubwa to confuse us. But this is what I'm telling to him. First, he meets our demands, okay? Mm-hmm. Then tutatoka, we'll take it from there. It doesn't change the fact that he still has to go home.
Yeah.
To my fellow people, no retreat, no surrender. Viva.
Aya, viva. Sawa, viva. Val, Roba, Kevo.
Yes.
I don't even know what to say. Asanteni sana. I did not know what to expect in this episode. I mean, of course, I've been interacting with you guys for the past week, and I knew you guys had so much fire. But then with our studio, there's usually very many moving parts. It's never easy to host three guests. So it was a balancing act that we really had to plan for, and we are really happy that we're able to do it, because each of the three of you has brought in a very unique perspective and a vigor that like one we've never seen before in the studio. And I think it's important for people to understand that this of course started from back home, and these were the people who started talking, you know, like amongst themselves before I entered that chat group, until the point where we decided, okay, we're gonna be doing a protest. And you see, the thing is, we're not even thinking, you know, like, to me, this protest, you'd rather have 10 dedicated people than have 1,000 uncommitted people. I want to tell you know, like, the number of people we got, I can't remember exactly how many it was. We didn't keep a record, but there was quite a big number of people came we did not expect. And I could tell you there was so much commitment from everyone we spoke to, everyone we met out there. People are volunteering, you know, like there's someone alikuwa amekama, alikuwa nauza vitu, decide at some point I'm gonna start giving this stuff out for free. You know, like people were coming with water, you know, like people were asking us, you know, like, where do we send money? Where do we do this? And now we are trying just to structure ourselves in a proper way in which we can do this more effectively. We're creating different working groups to work on different things, because this is gonna be there for the long haul. There are so many things that need to be worked on, and that's what we're gonna be doing. So from the bottom of my heart, Roba, Val na Kevo, asanteni sana. Val, ulikuwa na kitu hujamaliza kusema?
Yeah, we have a team, and also they've worked very diligently.
Yes.
I don't know how many of them are comfortable with us mentioning them here on the show.
Yeah.
So Juya Sita mention, but
Yes.
I want you to know, guys, we're so happy for your commitment, because they keep the things running behind the wheel, and it's not easy. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Haya, sawa sawa. Na kwa watu wa YouTube, watu wa Facebook, we thank you so much. Leo watu wa YouTube wamepeleka watu wa Facebook mbio. I had to keep up. I had to keep up with both, but YouTube is normally a bit sleepy, but leo I think a lot of Gen Zs wameingia.
Wamechangamshwa na Gen Z.
Wamechangamshwa na Gen Zs.
Gen Z ndio wamewachangamsha.
Yeah, na unajua Gen Zs hawako Facebook. So wao ndo watu wanaingia hapo YouTube. And then, you know, like our social media manager was telling us that now our TikTok, thanks to things we've been posting during this protest, your TikTok account is fairly new. I think it's less than 2 months or 3 months old. Yeah, and now we are getting, you know, like 300,000 views on some of the videos that we are posting. So tumepata followers mpaka sasa we can now go live on TikTok. So we're gonna try to figure how we are gonna effectively do that. So make sure you follow us on all our social media handles, and don't forget the protest is happening this Sunday at the Kenyan Embassy in Washington DC. If you're within a 5-hour driving distance, please make your way here. We want the numbers big. Whatever Jidraf said earlier is very important. We need to make a statement. We need to have big numbers, and I'm hoping now, going towards that one for the IMF. I think after IMF we need to go for a protest to the White House. Here White House, after your IMF, we want as many people as possible to come from other cities, other towns, so that we have bigger numbers. Come with your friends, one and Kenyans. You know, come with your friends, one and Kenyans. There's a lot of people who love Kenya. There's a lot of people, you know, like, of course, the Haitians, they have an issue with President Ruto sending Kenyan police to Haiti. You know, like there's a lot of other African countries that are looking at us. Remember what happened in the Sahel? So this is now a different style of what happened in the Sahel. This is something different. It's a different flavor. I think Kenyans have not realized, because we've also been on Kenyan media the last 10 days or so. So we're not realizing that this thing is being covered so much by international media.
But rightfully so, charity begins at home.
Charity begins at home. And I'd also like to give credit to the media. You know, they've really stepped up, you know, like on this issue of the finance bill, you know, like haki yao wapatie, they've really stepped up. They've done a very good job in bringing in the experts, in highlighting, and of course the Gen Zs. We can't forget the Gen Zs on TikTok, on Instagram, breaking it down. Yani breaking it down to such simple details. Mpaka mi mwenyewe nasema, because me I'm one of those people who reads the details, but then when some of these Gen Zs explain, I'm like, you know, that I had not thought about it from that perspective. So that has motivated me with a OneMicShow account on TikTok. I've been, you know, like you know, nimekuwa nikicheza huko, because TikTok is that one platform where nilikuwa nimesema sisi older millennials, mimi nilikuwa nimeikataa, But I think there's a lot of good things happening there.
By force, by fire.
Yeah, by force, by fire. Na kwa hayo machache, yeyote ambaye anataka kunipigia simu, nambari yangu bado ni ile ile, 1-800 mteule. Na operator akishika simu, mwambie unataka kusema na mjukuu. Na akikuuliza ni mjukuu yupi, unamkumbusha ni mjukuu yule yule wa Masai. Because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui, na sibagui. Kwaherini.
Val, Roba, Kelvin, asanteni sana. Aiden, Daddy loves you. Njeri, Daddy loves you. Nemo, Daddy loves you. Until the week after July 6th, be blessed.